Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone. Hello. Hi, Said. Can see more faces.
Sorry for the
Hey,
delay here.
sorry so much for the delay. It is a bit of a tight schedule, so I hope you all understand and that Rachel's content is worthy for waiting for. And it is. We all know Rachel and we all know how awesome of a facilitator she is. So let me just let everyone in. We're in, I think. Sorry. Hello. Okay. Thank you guys. Since we're already running a bit late, we're gonna start the show immediately.
Yes.
Today is a big day for us here at Butter HQ. It's the launch of our new product scene. So for I think some of you I've seen already earlier, like Lucy and Said also hosted a session. So you all know what this day is all about. It's all about celebrating our new product, which you will be seeing in a bit together with our favorite facilitators and people who are very skilled at their craft. So today, Rachel will be we're also launching on Product Hunt. So I'm going to be dropping please do give us a like, some support there. If you can, if you have the time, it only takes one click. And today it's going to be Rachel taking us through facilitation rhythms and how to shift the lows into more highs. I think we've all been there. We've all, even if you're not a facilitator by trade, we've all had moments which has been a bit more. Javier, I'm gonna mute you for a bit. Where you actually need to just pivot a bit and react to what's happening in the moment, very much like now. And yeah, so okay, let me
We've got
mute
someone.
everyone first.
Yes.
I am gonna ask everyone to mute. But anyhow, as I was saying, it's all about pivoting and shifting those lows into highs. Although it's not, this doesn't count too much as a low. But I am babbling now, so I am gonna pass it over to Rachel, who will be
Yes.
taking us through the
And if you
session today.
could do me a favor and highlight me as a speaker, we will get started. So I've dropped the link for scenes to everyone in the chat, and that is where I want you to join me. If you might have been using scenes in some of your other sessions here, I want you to go ahead and pop your avatar on there as, what is your typical facilitator brain when you're in a meeting? Just go with your gut here, right? Go with your gut. And I want you to click your avatar. It's going to ask you a quick question once you click your avatar to actually go ahead and add an image that represents that feeling for you, right? That represents that feeling of your typical facilitator brain. And so we should see some images popping up here. If you roll over anyone in particular avatar, you should see their image go ahead and pop up. I've got, you can record a picture of yourself with that feeling. You can upload a different kind of picture. Let's see if everyone can get their avatars on there. Yep, there we go. Just go ahead and click your avatar. I want to start seeing some of those up there as we get started, and then we'll just move on. All right, fantastic. Is everyone able to get onto scenes? If you're not, just drop a message in the chat and Cheska will help you. So, I'm actually going to say which one is mine here too. I'm nervous before everything, right? So even if I'm not spread too thin, that's how I feel. So when I'm entering a session a lot of times. Uh, if you can't add a photo, we'll figure out what's going on there. Usually that you'll be able to add one. Okay, a couple people can't use search for image, but that's, we'll get all that fixed as we're going on. So let's just pop on to the next slide here and figure out why we're all here today, right? So what the heck are we doing here, right? We're going to talk about the facilitator rhythm all the way from opening moments to during session to closing moments. Now, we talk about workshops as an experience, so we know there's things that happen before the opening moments in the room and things that happen after the closing moments in the room, right? But today we're just focused on the room. We're focused on what happens when people enter the room and what happens when people are during the session and what happens when people are wrapping up that session. So that's the facilitator rhythm we are talking about today. All right, so as I just mentioned here, opening moments to closing moments, we're talking all the way through these things. And that's what we're focused on in our brainstorming that we're about to hop into. So what is an opening moment? An opening moment is what we just had here. People are coming into the room. We might have, a connection activity. Something might be going on, right? During the session, that's when everyone is going through the collaborative activity. Closing moments is when you kind of wrap up with that reflection or check out or something to keep momentum. So let's go ahead and start with some brainstorming here. So you should see here, it's a little Kanban style, right? Which is actually the layout and themes. And I want to know from you, go ahead and add card there, right? And I want to know, what are your lows personally, right, in a session as a facilitator? And think about the experience for the participants, right? How they engage or don't, right? What specific challenges or tensions come up for your participant, for you as a participant, right? So I want to see some of those in every section here: opening moments, during session, closing moments. And then we're going to go ahead and vote on these afterwards, because we're actually going to look at the top opening moment, the top during session moment, and the top closing moment. We're going to flip some of those in real time today. So I'm a big fan of improv in the moment. I'm going to give you an example of a low in each of these and how to flip it. But I really wanted to do something on the fly where we really look at what's important to you all. You can also add emojis to these if there's one you're really liking, but we're going to do a vote in a second here. So let me give you a second to go wide on these, and we'll start seeing those answers coming up after lunch. So tell me more and be specific, right? What happens after lunch? Are they losing energy, right? Or it's after lunch and everyone's stomach hurts and there's like a mad rush for the bathroom? Like, what's happening there? that is a low, right? And so people just leave right in the middle of stuff. Those are poppers. I do not like them. But we can handle those. We don't like poppers, or mental poppers is what I call them, right? But we will figure out how to turn that into a high, right? People arrive late, moment everyone comes in, doesn't know where to sit. Oh, that doesn't know where to sit in the in-person one. That's an interesting one. I've got some things for that. All right. I like that you've added a photo here. What do you mean? People looking unamused. Yes. I think Saeed also has that. What do you call it? Resting Zoom face. All kind of perfected there. All right. So we've got some answers here, and I know we started a little late, so I'm going to go ahead and start the vote here. Right. And I'm going to give us, and I'm going to do this super quick. I'm going to give us 30 seconds to vote, or 45, because you got to read them, right? So start reading them. I'm going to go ahead and start this vote. You've got 3 votes, and I want you to vote all the way across all of the sections, right? And so I'm going to go ahead, and your vote's anonymous, but oh, I thought I started it. Wait, let's try again. Start. All right, there we go. So you should be able to vote now, I believe, right? Is everyone able to vote? Let me know if you are. No, okay.
Nope,
Voting has.
starting now should be good.
Oh, okay.
There.
All right. Got it. All right, now we should be able to vote because Cheska helped me out there. I really thought I started it. So we've got our votes coming in. Let's go ahead. We can kind of see this here on the board. You can see some of votes. Oh, I guess I need to vote too. All right. Let's go with that one. What else? Everyone's got their oh yeah, let's go with that one. Go with that one. All right. Is everyone getting their votes in here? It says time's up, but I'm still seeing some votes coming in. All right, fantastic. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the vote, I think. I think I am. All right, so let's see. Are the ones with the most votes coming to the top here? Let's see. Let's go to present. Maybe? No? Maybe Cheska can help me out where those votes went.
Those votes seem to have pum pum pum. Past votes. We go here, there. Perfect. Now we actually 6 votes for people arriving late. 5
Okay,
votes. Do you
people
see it,
arriving
Rach?
late is our first. Ooh, there we go. People arriving late, or people just leave in the middle of stuff. So we got a lot of arriving and leaving. Okay, so oh, Jessica, I'm not sure how to get rid of that highlight.
Which one specifically?
Oh,
Sorry.
there
Okay,
you
there.
go.
Now we go again.
Oh, okay. So people just leaving right in the middle of stuff. And what was our highest vote for the last one? Last column.
For the last one, not feeling like things were resolved or outroed properly.
Not feeling like things were resolved. All right. If Cheska, you can make a note of those so we can add those
Yes,
to
I'm good.
our lows. You've got those. All right. We're going to go ahead and close our vote, and we're going to go to the next screen here. So here's an example low. We're going to use your low in a second, right? So people are reluctant to participate in the initial connection activity. They fear judgment or looking silly. And so that is the low that I'm using as an example. And then we're going to get to your low, that one, and we're going to look at that together. All right. So how do we flip that people not wanting to participate in a connection activity, right? If we want to flip it on the spot, there's some things you could do ahead of time, which I'll get into in a second, but we're talking about flipping it on the spot, right? Throw back in that why, right? Why are you doing that specific connection activity? Make sure you're connecting it back to what you're doing in the session, like during it. So make sure you're vocalizing that, right? If it's something about looking at perspectives, because you're going to be doing a lot of diverging of ideas and listening to each other in the session, tie it back to that. Be like, we're doing this so we can understand, looking at each other's perspectives, and get your brain ready, get your mind ready for what's going to happen, right? And then participate as a facilitator. So, at the beginning there where I kind of said which one I would pick and participate as a facilitator, it kind of sets that vibe for people, right? Also, normalize being open and wild with your ideas. One of the things I like to do, even on the fly, right, to flip around that energy in the beginning, like maybe people aren't opening up, we'll do, I'll all of a sudden say, okay, we're going to do a wildest idea of the day award today, and it's going to happen. We're going to bring it back in at the end of the session. So remember what people are saying, get your wild ideas out there, and use those during the session. And actually, people get very competitive, and they're like, all right, now I'm going to open up. I'm going to do that, right? So that's just one way, right? And then you can also just go ahead and take the anonymous route. If you feel like that people aren't in a brave space enough, maybe there's different levels of people, and that's why you kind of feel that they're not opening up on the spot, go ahead and just automatically flip it to an anonymous activity. So let's say you're on Miro, you could just turn it into private mode. Or if it needs to be anonymous in person, have people individually write down what's happening there in the connection activity, and kind of keep that for themselves before sharing even. All right. So I want to know, with this one, people reluctant to participate, right? I want to know, how might you flip this? Tell me. Go ahead and put your answer. How might you flip that particular low we're talking about? And then we'll talk about the low that won, which Cheska's going to have to remind me of. So looks like a couple of people are asking for the themes link in the chat. I think Cheska will be able to pop that in there for you. I love how it tells me that people are putting their words together. That's we're all new to using the butter scenes here, and I just love how it's doing that. Lower the bar for contributing value. All right, I love how low should we go? So, but that's true. You want to meet people where you are, so that where they are. You want to meet people where they are. Challenge. Let's see, what other ones are coming in here. I tend to think about my most introverted moments and whether I'd be willing to do it. Yeah, that's really good to kind of prep for in general. And how you flip that on the spot too. Like maybe there's some things you use as an introvert to when you're not comfortable, and maybe you use some of those techniques on the spot. All right, we've got some more answers coming in, but I think we're going to end this poll here in a second so we can go to your low that you all picked. Simplifying the activity. Yep. Some great ones here. They keep coming, so I'm like, do I end the poll or or let you all keep going? Yeah, breaking it down. If people aren't participating, they might not be clear on what needs to be happening. So really kind of break that down and explain that to them, right? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. And what we're gonna do is we're going to, so we've got all of our answers there, and you'll be able to have a link to some of these results afterwards, I believe. So here is our low, people arriving late. This is a little structured brainstorming we're gonna do around this. So I wanna know from you, why is this a low? And what I mean by that is what makes it challenging or frustrating for you? What makes that particular low challenging or frustrating? And then think about what makes it challenging or frustrating, and then answer, how can we flip it, right? How can we flip that? What can you do to flip it in the moment, right? How can you flip it? Yeah, so it's a low because it easily feels disrespectful for the people who arrive on time. And sometimes also as a facilitator, you can kind of take that personally, right? Like, this is disrespectful to my time, right? And you have to kind of take a pause there and be like, all right, people are human. This happens, right? What if I was late? How would I want them to react to me? Right? And kind of just put that back on you. So I've started on time and then people think I should start over. Yeah, so that starting over thing, right? That's really an interesting one. So documenting things as you're going, or having things that have the instructions, like maybe you have a chat message ready with the instructions or something like that for people who do inevitably come late, right? You could pop that in the chat. You might have a actual physical thing with instructions on it if it's an in-person, right? What can you visibly show to people instead of just being at you saying everything? And that actually minimizes that type of disruption. Wow, we have so many here. Let's see what's coming in with how we can flip it. Plan starting activities where people can add while they come in. That's a great one. Unofficial start. I think Saeed's going to have to tell me more about that in the chat. Plan starting activities where people can, oh, I just did that one. I have something on my clipboard and ready to paste in the chat, which is awesome. Looks like some people already do that. Countdowns, intros, there's a lot of stuff here. One of the other things you can do is always buffer at least 5 to 10 minutes. Obviously, things happen, like we had a delay here, but buffer about 5 to 10 minutes as that kind of connection is happening, and people can add to that. So you'll notice a lot of times I'll do something like a vibe check or a check-in, and then I'll do a more a larger kind of priming your brain mindset kind of warm up, right? So having something like that quick check-in or vibe check kind of gives that buffer as people are entering. All right, we've got some wonderful things here. I'm gonna go ahead and move on just because we got a lot of stuff to touch on here. We got 2 more sections, but you'll have access to these as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get us to the next slide here. Oh, this is not the next slide. That's weird.
Which one did you, it's the one with the second, with the answers, right?
Yeah, those are
Maybe we
those
can,
are those are
that's
not in the right
the,
spot. Okay, hold on. I have to stop this for a second. Oh, there we are. Okay, that was right. All right, sorry about that. We're on the middle one. But I was what I want to show first is your top closing moment for, oh, it seems we have skipped a whole section here. Okay, let's move this down here. And what we're doing here is, sorry guys, there was a little mix up here. So, why is that doing that?
that might be.
All
Oh,
right.
good, Rich. Okay, I think we are right now in the purple one, your top closing
Yes, this is where we're supposed to be.
Perfect.
Okay. Some slides seem to have gotten out of order there.
We're good.
All right. So during session, low point is this is an example one here of energy is dipping, people are dragging, attention's going out of the window, right? So how do we flip that to a high on the spot, right? Maybe slip in a mystery energizer. You might not have an energizer planned or something with movement, but you might have this toolbox kind of go in there where you can slip something in to kind of get some of that energy up, right? Now, energy might be dipping, but the answer, I'm going to add another one here that's actually not on the slide. Energy might be dipping, but the answer might not be to bring that energy like full up, right? It might be that people need a breath, people need a pause, right? And so maybe you take a second and give them an individual reflection activity or something like that that kind of helps them recenter, right? You can also go beyond the Q&A and explore in different ways for people to answer. You want to use those anti-patterns also. Different ways for people to answer might mean, don't give me the right, like, don't give me the best answer. I want to know the worst answer. Like, flip it for them. Maybe they're not comfortable because they think they're going to be wrong, right? So use those anti-patterns. All right. So thinking about this, the low energy bit, how might you flip that low? How might you flip that? So let me know there. All right. So dance and music. We got some music. Start with a lot of people saying dance. I like that one. I'm a big fan of Shake It Off. So there's a couple things there. Get them moving around. Yep. One of the ones I like is an activity I like to do called a balanced explanation, where I actually bring movement into an exercise. And so it helps people kind of be clear and short on what they're answering. So let's say you want them to define a term, like what is a facilitator, right? You can ask people to stand on one foot and only answer as long as they can balance. And also to make it accessible, if people are not able to stand on their foot, you could stand in for them during their answer, right? So that's a way to kind of bring some movement or different things into an activity. Oh, let's hit skip there. So that's not on your thing. All right. Yes, grab paper and pen physically. Yeah. If people are losing, if they're losing momentum during a session and it's all kind of virtual, you can easily flip a lot of activities into a pencil and paper thing. And if you're not sure if you're going to use that or not in a session, always put in the expectation. Make sure you bring a pencil and paper with you. I always say pen or marker because I don't like people to erase things. But just have them bring that with them in the beginning and just kind of plan for that as a facilitator. Awesome. All right, well, let's move to your highest voted one now. So now, no, yes, your top close, but I don't. Oh, I see what you did there, Cheska. You made new slides.
It's the one where people leave just right in the middle of stuff.
Yes, where people leave in the middle. So let's talk about why people leave in the middle. Why is it a low and how can we flip it? So if people are leaving in the middle of a workshop, why is that a low? Why is that challenging or frustrating for you? And how can we flip it? Oh, and we're going to talk about another low that happened right here. You know, co-facilitating. Love you to death, Jessica. But we miscommunicated on some of these slides, right? I had templates and
sorry
like,
for that.
I make a new one.
We need to do this now.
So
I'm so sorry.
Is,
we are
no, there's no sorries here. I'm just highlighting the pivot that we did. So there we go. No, sorry. Cheska and I co-facilitate lovely together a lot of the times, and that's why we can move past those things and flip them into highs in our session. All right, Clayton feeling that the session is not important for them. Absolutely. It's distracting, yes, to everyone, to both the facilitator and to the participants. You know, kind of what did you do wrong, imposter syndrome? Oh, yes. that happens to a lot of us. Yes. How would you flip that, right? Like those frustrations, what that low is happening. How would you flip that if people were leaving the session early? What would you do in the moment? And kind of put some ideas there in the how can we flip it piece in the bottom there. Make a joke about it. Yeah, make a joke about it. Like I just did, made a joke about it, right? Make a joke about it, right? That's also you want to align with your facilitator kind of personality as well. So if you're not a humor or kind of entertainer person, it might come off really weird and inauthentic if you try to make a joke about it. So just make sure you're leaning into who you are, right, as a facilitator when you do that. Thank them for staying and say they would have a bonus at the end of the session. Yeah, the bonus at the end of the session is a really good one. So remember I talked about the Wild Idea of the Day award? A lot of times I connect an actual prize with that, right? So you announce it at the beginning and you kind of use it into a closing moment at the end and kind of talk about what you give away for that. I think, one time I gave away the Dare to Facilitate book, right? As the wildest idea of the day. Like connect it to kind of what you're doing and also something that would be interesting to your audience, right? Maybe have people stand up and say their goodbyes to everyone. Oh, I love that. Okay, Chris, I love that. So and maybe it's like, if you need to leave the meeting, don't forget to stand up and, give us a little wave, let us know, what your favorite thing was and leave the session, right? So I think that's an interesting way to kind of flip that, right? And there's also ways to kind of plan and prevent some of this from the beginning, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? So one of the things you can do from the beginning is you can have like a follow-up message or something when people leave that you don't just keep till the end and you're like, okay, you go here to follow up. Here's the hub with all of the recap and things like that, right? Because sometimes people have emergencies, right? You can also say at the beginning of a session, right? Hey, we're human. If you need to step out for a moment and come back, or you need to turn your camera off for a moment and come back, that's okay, right? And that gives them permission to go ahead and take a moment if they have an emergency or need to do something and come back. So that if they do leave, they feel like they have the permission to come back, right? So I think that's a bit of being able to do that with people, give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Calling people out. Yeah. But I kind of like Chris's idea of calling people out in that way because it's not really calling people out. It's like, here we say goodbye to people, right? That's what we do, right? And a lot of things about the end there. So go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and go to our closing moment. These are some wonderful things. I love all your ideas here. All right. Oh, we're gonna skip that. We're also gonna skip that because we're going to do that one after we talk about the example moment. So the closing moment, low point is silence during the end of a session, reflection, or checkout, right? So this is the one I'm going to kind of use as an example of how to flip on the spot, right? So if people aren't really participating in a closing reflection, right? Shift time to allow for individual reflection if there isn't any already, right? People might just not be comfortable with sharing their reactions or feedback publicly. Not everyone thinks in public, right? And the other thing is not everyone thinks in public on the spot, right? So you might give them some opportunity to reflect after the session, but be prepared to have a way to share that back to everyone in the session after that. Unless it's like anonymous feedback on the actual format of the session, but I'm really talking about what they learned and what they're going to put into play. Bring back the anonymous if you have to. If your closing activity isn't anonymous and you're kind of getting this pushback on the spot, be like, all right, let's do this anonymously, right? Tie it back to the beginning. That's where those prizes things come in. You could tie up that loop from the beginning. All right, wildest idea of the day award. We're going to do this as part of our reflection, and we're going to tie it back to here. There are a lot of other activities that you could do at the beginning that you tie back to the end, right? One I love is it's actually a variation on hopes and fears, and it's worries and wishes. And if you do that as an opening activity and then bring it back to this ending activity, you could be like, all right, did anything we worry about? Like, how do we resolve that? Were you actually really worried about that during it? And did what you wish for come true in this session, right? And then add in ways to celebrate, right? Like we don't celebrate the little things. Like workshops are about a transformation, right? They're about a change in behavior or a mindset, some sort of transformation. People are entering a certain way and people are leaving a certain way. How are you going to celebrate that with people? Celebrate those transformations and what you just went through together as a group. All right. So how might you flip that? People being quiet during a checkout or reflection. Tell me how you would flip that. All right, let's see. You get to use music and oh yes. So okay, Chris. I love that because when I use Butter, I actually have an activity at the end called Sound Off that I like to do where I turn on sound effects for everyone in Butter, and we all kind of have that opportunity to celebrate everyone. I also use something called the Yay game, where if someone is saying something that the rest of the group really likes during a reflection, everyone just goes, yay, right? Like they actually vocalize it. I've also, for in-person workshops, used cowbell for that, and kind of align it with the personality of the brand I'm doing that for and my personality as a facilitator as well. Yes, be comfortable with the silent at first. So I actually have a framework that I've developed for embracing silence called space. And so the S is for shh, right? And then oh God, you're gonna my brain's gonna go blank on what the P is for. So I will provide this to everyone afterwards. My brain's kind of going blank today because we had some things we had to shift on the spot. But oh, P is for patience, the 8-second rule, right? And that actually does work for workshops too, as well as food. And so A is for ask again, and maybe ask the question in a different way. Because if you ask it in the same way, it can get kind of patronizing. And then C, oh my God, what is wrong with my brain today, people? C is for caring, show people that you care about what they're saying. And E is for E is for, oh, what is wrong with me? E is for being there in the moment somehow. But there's an E word that goes with it, which I will share with you afterwards. So, all right. Um, give them a very easy prompt to end with. Yeah, if something's seeming a little confusing for people, you can shift up what you're saying. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, you could call out certain people who might be your champion participants. I see people calling out nice people, I think is what they said there, right? 3 levels of prompts. That's wonderful. Oh, I should probably scroll here so everyone can see on the screen. Although I think you can all see it for yourself. Popcorn style. I love popcorn style, Lucy. All right. Fantastic. Also storytelling, right? If people are really struggling with how to answer a prompt or a question, ask them to tell a story because people talk about themselves all day long, right? And then oh, I remembered what the E was. Experience the moment with them. All right, see, there we go. Okay, so storytelling is really great. People can tell stories about themselves or things they've experienced personally all day long, right? And even better if it's something that was frustrating to them. So flip to those anti-patterns, right? All right, let's move on to your top closing moment low, which Jessica, remind me, what was that?
People not feeling like things were resolved or outflowed properly.
Yes, people not feeling like things were resolved or closed out properly. Why is that a low, and how can we flip it? Tell me. And this has happened to me a lot, right? Especially if you feel like you're rushed or you run out of time or something like that, right? Like you kind of have this like weird end and you're like, okay, we're done, right? So it doesn't feel, frustration for participants. It feels unfinished, feels like a waste of time. Yes. Um, there are some things you can actually do to combat this before a session even happens too, right? I like using what I call the how-to method to actually take an objective of a workshop and break it into how-to statements. So, let's say the objective was for the workshop was to get a team to communicate with each other better. You could break that into how-to statements of how to understand the communication strengths of your team, how to understand feedback on communication. Like break it into all those different how-to statements, then kind of cluster those into themes and be like, wow, I could do like a whole workshop just on this one. Well, that's probably true. So break it into either different sections or different workshops, create an overall experience, or just prune what you need to do, right? Like I am infamous for putting too much in a workshop and I need to learn to take those things out, but I need to also give myself permission to make that a series of workshops if I need to, right? All right, makes you look disorganized. What am I doing here? First of all, I'm gonna address this makes you look disorganized thing because I feel that too, but no one thinks that, right? Adjust on the fly, right? They don't know what your original detailed agenda was, right? Adjust on the fly and wrap up either where you are and move the other ones to maybe a post workshop activity, right? That's a way you could flip it on the fly. All right. So how can we flip it? Part of the let's see, part of the norms to not expect closure, create that not to expect closure, create ways to connect and continue the conversation. I actually really love that, right? So I think part of that is also I'm not a big fan of consensus. I know probably people are going, sorry, not sorry about that, but I am not I'm a big fan instead of new collaborative ideas that come out of a conversation, because consensus means that you have to get rid of the most creative and potentially the most risky parts of an idea to get to something that everyone agrees with, right? That's what consensus is. And you're going to have a watered down solution for consensus 85 to 90% of the time, right? That's just kind of how it is with human nature. To get everyone to agree, you have to pull out those creative edge cases, right, instead of coming up with new collaborative solutions. All right, post workshop communication. Yeah, these are some great ways to kind of flip it in the moment, be like, I have so much more I still want to tell you. You're gonna get, I actually use Notion for this. I have a Notion hub for most all of my workshops that people go there both before and after the workshop. And so that's where they get all of their expectations and also all of their recaps and resources. So if there's things we didn't get to in the workshop, I have a place to put it afterwards. And I already have that place for it. And I could just kind of gather those thoughts that from the end, right? One of the things we could do to flip this kind of planning ahead of time is I love using things like a wonder wall, which is where people can put questions and things they're wondering about all throughout a session, right? And that's one of the ways you could kind of create a closing from the beginning, right? Because you can look at that wonder wall and be like, as we close up, let's look at some of these questions, right? So it's a really great way to do that. Let's see, what else do we have here? See, lots of, I'm not even able to kind of keep up with the the chat here. So let's see. What else? Ask for metrics at the beginning set by the group. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Then at the end, go through the metrics with the group. Like, did we hit these? That's great. That's wonderful. Let's see. Capture and create conclusions throughout your session. I actually really love that too. I think mini reflections throughout the session are really nice. Instead of keeping the whole reflection for the end, it's really nice to have those mini reflections. Like I wish, I wonder to do like a quick one of those mini reflections. after a big activity or a big section even, right? So let's say you have an all-day workshop. I know a lot of us don't do many of those anymore, but if you have an all-day workshop and let's say your morning is your creative thinking part, your divergent part, you have a lunch break, and then your afternoon is your critical thinking part, right? So instead of waiting till the very end, like after the morning, do kind of a way to close that loop of your creative thinking. And because people need to shift the context of their brain then to their critical thinking, especially in things like brainstorming, right? So that's really just a wonderful way to get your brain in the right brain space, close the loop for people, and transition to the next. All right, there's so many good things here. We are going to move on, I think, to our own reflection activity. Yes, look, I was right as what was next. Okay, so this is a free like free form, not free. Wow, free form brainstorming. And this is a lovely variation that I've created. Oh, let's get rid of this little pop up here. On now gravity, future flight, and big asteroids. Okay, so what is now gravity? I'm reading this book right now called Embrace Your Weird, and this term is used in it, and it's about the present. What is happening right now? So I want to know, right, what are you loving right now about what we just did? I loved this today, right? And then future flight is what are you going to do next based on what you loved, right? How are you going to use what you loved? Like, give me an action. How are you going to use what you loved, right? And then they're big asteroids. Okay, I'm going to use this thing I loved, but I'm going to blast through this obstacle I think might be in my way for it, right? So give me one of each, right? I loved this. I'm going to take this thing I loved and I'm going to do this action with it. And this might be an obstacle for me, but I'm going to blast my way through it. So let's see what you got. Adding a Notion hub for workshops. Yay! Fantastic. If anyone's interested in that, maybe I'll do a little session on what my hubs look like. Or maybe I'll create a resource hub for the end of this one that Jessica can send to everyone. Roll with the punches. Yes. Lots of punches, right? Roll with all the punches. And be kind. I think that's a really important thing, is to be kind. If you're working with a co-facilitator, or be kind to yourself too, right? Like, mistakes happen. You are human. Everyone in the room is human. If you try to pretend that they're not, it's just going to come off weirdly. So, so really be kind, right? Oh, we have a lot here. Jessica, how do I see these? Can I move them?
You can actually just, by the side, you should be able to see the stream. If you click on present as well.
Click the note counter.
Yeah, the note counter, you should be able to see that here. Let me, most recent. Do you see 13 notes on your
Oh, yeah, I
upper?
see it. Yeah, look at that. All right. Look at us on the fly using all the things. By the way, I love butter scenes. There were so many different layouts I wanted to use for this today. And I love being able to kind of create those things in it. I wanted to be able to showcase for you all the different layouts we were using and give you some advice for flipping these lows and highs. I like to turn lows to highs. Ooh, I'm glad. Right? Ooh, creating a template for Notion. Yeah, okay. I love that. So you wanted to add you loved about adding that. You're gonna go create a template for Notion, and you're gonna blast through your obstacle by seeing an example of mine. Look, that's a wonderful kind of thread there. I think that's fantastic. Let's see, adding more graphics. Yes. I love that. Oh, can I see the whole adding more graphics and interactions? And I love that one. I love graphics because I come from a design background. So what else do we have on here? Let's see. Problem solution, different styles and inputs. Ooh, different styles and inputs of facilitation in the community. Oh, I'm trying to like read all these. There's so many. I love it. Learning how to flip the script. Yes. Fantastic. And if you have any questions as we're wrapping up here, because apparently I like bowled through this because I knew that that we started late, and I was like, all right, I better adjust. So I adjusted on the fly and bowled through it. So now I have some time for questions. If you have questions in the chat, so we could do some questions in the chat. Yes, just down the note stream. Yes. Oh, here it is. Here, I could show you all that. You see this 24 notes up here? If you click on that, you can actually scroll through all of those. And you can choose here group by participant, most recent. So group by participant might be really cool here because we have something that builds on each other from each column. So it's really nice to see them all together, right? I could see the now gravity, the future flight, and learning how to or pivot. I don't know if those are in the right order, but I can still see them all together. So, all right. I think it is in the right, maybe. I don't know. All right.
Yep.
Any questions? Yeah, see, I'm still learning butter scenes myself. I see some things in there.
If you
Well,
click on percent, you should be able to highlight certain answers as well,
oh,
right?
present. Look at
Yes.
that. Woohoo. All right, let's see.
I just didn't
Love
want to
that.
hide there. Cool.
Oh, cool. Okay. Looking from different perspective. Cool. See, I'm learning all the things. I love
Doing
the
good.
idea of giving them the option to write their reflections down or respond later. Yes, I love that respond later one because and I say this all the time, not everyone thinks in public, and you shouldn't force them to either. So, all right. Yeah, this feature is great, isn't it? Right. Yes, I think we will be able to send out the results only scene link, right,
Yep,
Cheska?
yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we should be able to do that. We'll clean up some of the slides in there that didn't have answers on them and make sure that the link we send, I think it's a full link, but yes, you will have access to this. So you could kind of have all those ideas from everyone in the room. Yes. Yeah, some people learn, Cheska, some people learn in public, but some people don't. So we have to meet people where they are. All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone. I'm going to wrap up so we can jump into our next section of this very long day that I know Cheska is staying up all hours of every part of her day here. And so I think we all need to give her a round of applause so for all of her and the Butter team's work on this fantastic 24-hour festival and the tool, because you need to try Teens because it's going to be my new sidekick. Thank you, everyone.
I think we do have, well, thank you, Rach. Thank you, everyone, for being so gracious with me learning a bit in public. And also, thank you, Rachel, for the wonderful session. Like, as always, it's just so great to see how you're stretching the tool and also encouraging people to learn while we're doing these sessions. And hopefully a lot of people here got inputs as to how to flip their lows into highs. Me included, guys, clearly. And I wish to see you all in the next session. It is our product hunt launch today, so please, please do give us a support. And Rach is fantastic, so please connect with her on LinkedIn as well. It's been amazing seeing everyone, and thank you all for the patience and the graciousness today. So see you.
Thank you for the
And thank
kindness,
you for
right,
being
Cheska?
here. Yes, thank you for the kindness. And thank you so much, guys. See you in the next sessions. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Rach.